So a week or so ago, I made a video, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I put a thing on JP's website on Facebook, and I think I needed to put a thing on blog about it. But anyway, about how I was dipping entire frames with the foundation in them in the beeswax. And it was just something I was kind of testing out to see. I like the end result as far as the wood being saturated with wax and the frame also getting waxed for the foundation. But it really uses a lot of wax, and there's a lot of wax that gets left on the wood. So I didn't really care for that as much, so I'm going back to trying to dip just the foundation. And I'm pretty much copycatting off of what I've seen John Pluta do here. So I've got my wax in bucket here in the pot of hot water, so I've got liquid wax. And then what I actually had to do is I didn't have a real tall skinny bucket, so I actually cut 2 more buckets and just using their top about third to make a ring, so I get a deeper bucket effect to where I can still dip the frame and then smack it. So I was just going to show you, though, it's kind of a multi-step process. So a lot of my foundation's been sitting out, it's gotten dirty and nasty. So the first thing I do is I go through and I scrape it all clean with my hive tool. And then I use my air hose here and I blow it off. So blow off all little, give it a good smack first, try to knock off anything big, and then I blow it clean. And you can see it's still not like washed clean, but from what I recall watching John's video too, his stuff wasn't immaculate. So I think as long as you get some wax over, the bees don't mind. But once I get it clean, then I just come over here to my wax pot and just a real quick dip. I give it a little twist to help fill in the bottom of the cells, and then just smack it against the sides to knock off all the excess. And I don't even know if you guys look, I don't even know if you can see the difference, but kind of right, let's see if I can get her to focus. Whoops, not with my finger in the lens. Right there, about in the middle, is the line where I've got wax on the left and not on the right. So it's hard to see, but when I look close, sorry, the camera's not good for you guys, but when I look close on it, I can see the lip of every single cell is waxed, and there's a little bit of wax down in the bottom of the cell too, and that's all you want. You want just to, this is a little bit better example. See, it looks dirtier up top, cleaner on the bottom. So that maybe is a little bit better, but you don't want big globs of wax. You just want a real thin coat, and this is the best way that I found to get a good thin coat. So appreciate John sharing his stuff so I can copycat off of it, but do my part here and give back to the old YouTube family, and hopefully some others will copycat off this too. So I'm just going through and taking all my wax, all my right cell foundation. I usually only run right cell in my mediums, but I've got a lot of this stuff that's in deeps from back when I first started, and I don't see any point throwing it away. So I'll go on through and wax this stuff too, might as well, and reuse it. But what I primarily do is I run in all of my deeps and my brood nest, I like to run pure beeswax strips, let them build their own foundation. But I'll go ahead and reuse this, deep right cell, might as well. But y'all can see just from watching this, it's pretty quick. Now, once you get a good rhythm going, it takes about, seems like it takes about 2 or 3 or 4 hours to get this big bucket full of solid wax melted in liquid. But once it's going, man, it's good to go. It stays hot for a while, so you can kind of turn your burner down and save a little propane. But yeah, that's the name of the game. Just going through and re-dipping all of it, and we'll see how well the bees like it. Last year I tried brushing wax on, and that took forever, trying to paint it on with a paintbrush. This is much faster, and I think gives a better coat as well. There's one downside I'm getting here on the corners. I'm getting these little globs. Wow, that's really bright. These little globs, and that's just from where I'm smacking it against the inside of the bucket. You see it all builds up on the inside of the bucket. So I go through after about 20 or so of them, and I scrape all that back off. And before I put the foundation back in the frames, I'll go through and just by hand just break off the bigger chunks that I can. Just go back in the bucket. So, like I said, just thought I'd show this to you guys and share it with you. If you got a whole bunch of old sheets of foundation like this that the wax has been scraped off of, or the bees have picked it off of, don't throw it out. Hopefully you've got enough wax here that you can melt and dip your own. If not, send me a message, and who knows, maybe I'll buy it off of you or something, or we can work a deal where I'll dip it for you. Who knows? But just don't throw it away. Name of the game is beekeeping. Don't waste anything. So, good luck. I may have forgot to clarify just one thing, but you notice when I dipped, I only dipped about half the foundation. So, dip them, knock them clean, and then set them over here and let it set up for just a minute or two while you go through and do the whole pile, and then you go back through and dip the other half and do the same thing. And then once I've dipped both halves, Then I throw them over here on this pile. So this is the finished pile. You can see this one, for whatever reason, this piece of right cell got a great big thick middle where the wax stuck a lot more for some reason. And I think it's just because in general it was a dirtier piece of foundation. So a lot of cocoons and stuff in here is a dirtier piece. So the wax adhered to it a lot more. So I could try to re-dip this one. Just take longer. Let it dip in there for a lot longer so the plastic heats up, the wax stays hot, and then flick it. And maybe save some. But for right now I'm just going to use it the way it is. And you know, hopefully the bees will just build off of it on their own. They're not, you know, they're not worried about the having to have the honeycomb pattern because they know how to do that on their own. So anyway, that's it. Dip one half, let it set for a minute, flip it over, dip the other half.